Welcome to the Vinitzer Studio. Today I'll show you how to create this 5-foot tall foam board arch. This is an inexpensive way to add structure to your party or event setups, and I'll be incorporating it into this sweet bunny themed baby shower setup. To make it even easier to follow along from home, I've got a set of templates linked in the description box below. One is the full template with support flaps, and the one I'm using today is a half template that only has the top part of the arch so we get that curve just right. This arch is made from a single 40 by 60 inch piece of foam board that I picked up at my local Hobby Lobby store. If you can't find a sheet that large, you can always use two 32 by 40 sheets and tape the long sides together, and that will work just as well. After you've printed out and taped together the template following the diagram on page 1, you can then take a pair of scissors and roughly cut out around the template so we can easily tape it down to our foam board. Protect your work surface with a self-healing cutting mat and then pull your foam board right over the top of that. If any of the corners of your foam board have gotten damaged in transit, you can always align those with the curved edge of the arch so we can completely cut them away and it won't matter. Align the top of the arch with the short edge of the foam board so that they're touching and we can get the most height out of our foam board. Then center the template right in the middle so that the edges should be aligned with the long sides of the foam board. There may be some discrepancy in size depending on how the template was taped together, so focus on centering the template on the board and then we can feather that cut between the template and the edge of the board later on. Starting in the center of the arch, I'm going to place tape on both the outside and the inside of the arch and then slowly work my way out to the edges, smoothing any rumples in the template with my hands. The key to cutting a clean foam board edge is using a sharp knife. I always put a brand new blade into my craft knife and then cut the foam board in 2 passes. The first pass, I'm only cutting about halfway through the board with my focus being on getting an accurate cut following that template. It's only through the second pass that I actually cut all the way through the foam board. Cut out the inside and outside edges of the curved section of our arch, and then I'm going to stop there. Now if you're using the full template, you can follow it all the way down to the base of the arch, but I found to give myself the straightest cuts possible, it's better to flip back the template and continue that cut against the edge of a ruler. I've made a mark 8 inches in from the edge of the foam board, and I'm going to align one end of my ruler on that mark and the other end where I stopped cutting from the curved section of the arch. Then simply keep my knife right against the edge of that ruler, make 2 passes, and that's how I'll get crispy straight cuts for the bottom section of my arch. At this moment, we basically have a 2-for-1 deal. We've got the arch that we were intending to cut out, but in the center of that, we also get this extra bonus arch. Now you could keep both of these and support them with any kind of balloon backdrop stand by simply taping them in place, or if you want all foam core construction, you can cut these support flaps from that smaller arch. Now I've got 2 of these and I'm going to tape them to the back of my arch using some clear packaging tape so that they can fold down for easy transportation and storage. On the backside of my arch, down the very center, I've made a pencil mark, and that will act as a guide for where to place my support flap. Take a piece of clear packaging tape and put half of it onto the support flap, and then bend the tape backwards so we don't accidentally stick it down to the arch before we're ready. Then stand up the support flap and align it with that pencil mark, making sure the bottom edges of both the flap and the arch are aligned with each other, and then press the tape down into the arch so it's nice and flat. Use 2 or 3 pieces of tape to secure each flap to the back of the arch, and now it's ready to be incorporated into a larger design. I've paired it up with this 7-foot tall arch with a white slipcover on it, and an easy way to attach a balloon garland is with a rubber band and a spring clamp. Simply insert the rubber band into the mouth of that clamp and then clamp it to the edge of your frame, and then we'll use that rubber band to capture one of the balloons from our garland. I made a simple garland from clusters of 6 balloons, and I'm going to thread that through the center of our foam board arch so it looks like those balloons are cascading out of it. To secure it in place, I'm going to take one of the balloons from that topmost cluster and stretch a rubber band that's clamped to the arch all the way around it so the rubber band sits against the nozzles of that balloon and hidden from sight. Now we need to flare out the base of this balloon garland so it looks like it's cascading outwards. I'm going to tie in some extra balloon clusters that I made earlier to give it that effect, and an easy way to add these is with a rubber band. Simply keep extra rubber bands on your wrist, and then you can grab one of the balloons in that cluster with your hand and slip the rubber band from your wrist over the balloon so it sits right against the nozzles of that balloon. I'm going to place this cluster right in the center of the arch to begin that widening effect. Once I'm happy with its placement, I'm going to take the rubber band that I just slipped over that balloon and stretch the other end around one of the balloons that's already in the garland and press it down so it's against the nozzle of that balloon, and the tension on the rubber band will hold that cluster in place. I'm going to attach a couple clusters in this manner, and one of the beautiful things about using rubber bands to secure the balloons together is it gives us some flexibility in placement. There's just enough stretch in the rubber bands that we can rotate the clusters around until we're perfectly happy with where they're sitting. Now once you get these in place, you may notice some gaps or holes you want to fill in, and that's where small balloon quads come in handy. Now these are 4 5-inch balloons that I've inflated to 4 pumps of air using a hand pump, or about 4.5 inches in diameter. I'm going to attach these just like I did the larger clusters with more rubber bands. At this point, the base should be looking nice and full all in front of that arch, but don't forget about the balloons behind it and at the top. We want to make sure there's lots of interesting texture and color up there as well. To give this design some visual balance, I added an extra cluster of balloons on the left side of the arch and then placed this adorable bunny rabbit right on top as the focal point of the background, and then one more bunny rabbit in the foreground. And now this darling design is ready for a sweet spring baby shower. If you're interested in making more props for your own parties, you should check out this video. And until the next time, remember, stay creative everybody!